Survival mode of the long dark literally leaves you in the dark when it comes to surviving. You spawn in somewhere random and you're expected to just figure it out. Many of the tips in this video are for the brand new player. When I started out with this game, my lovely community gave me tips on surviving, and they don't know it, but after I logged off from each of my streams, I jot down what I learned from them. After playing this game for about a year, I revisited that list and I realized a lot of these tips are kind of second nature to me now, but they blew my mind as a new player. So in this video, I'm going to talk about how to survive the first few days in the long dark. This video is most applicable to Voyager and Stalker players. These are difficulties with beginner to intermediate settings, with Voyager being the level of difficulty the game is probably intended to be played. Before you even spawn in, you'll notice an option to select Feats. If you're brand new, you won't have any yet. You have to earn them. Don't stress over that though, you're going to die a million times in the beginning, so it's fine to start out with none. Tell us your most absurd death in the comments down below. Once you do unlock feats, you'll find they can make a big difference. Personally, I like Snowwalker, Cold Fusion, and Book Smarts, but what really matters is picking the ones that counter your weaknesses and then enhances your strengths. Don't start out with the custom game. You can't earn feats in custom games. So if you want to work towards them, for the love of God, start out with one of the set difficulties. Now, after difficulty and feats comes one of the most important choices: where to spawn. On Voyager and Stalker, you get to choose, and for beginners, this can make or break your run. The best starting regions are Mountain Town, Mystery Lake, and Coastal Highway. All three of these offer mild climates, plenty of resources, and a lot of indoor shelters to protect you from both the cold and wildlife. And where there are more buildings, there's more loot, and that's a huge bonus when you're first starting out. Other regions like Pleasant Valley and Broken Railroad aren't terrible either, but they do come with their own early game challenges. Pleasant Valley is the coldest of the bunch that I just mentioned, though it does have a lot of buildings and it is a central location on Great Bear. Broken Railroad is smaller with a fairly mild climate and a concentrated amount of resources, but it's crawling with wolves. So if you're not comfortable dealing with the constant threat of wolf encounters, you'll probably want to skip the Broken Railroad. No matter where you choose to spawn, you need all the same things regardless. You need matches so you can start fires, and you need fires for everything else: staying warm, cooking food, boiling water, and pulling torches. In the words of Will,
fire's life out here.
So let's talk about fire. You need an ignition source, tinder, fuel, and an accelerant. Accelerant is always optional, and as your fire making skills increase, tinder becomes optional. Don't use birch bark as your tinder source. If you got at least 2 pieces, save them for birch bark tea. It's not a very common resource, and the tea heals you while you sleep, so it's much more valuable as a tea than a quick fire starter. Birch bark can be found near birch trees, but if you want to load up on a lot just in case, head to the ravine. As one of my subscribers noted, the ravine is considered the hospital in the long dark due to the amount of first aid resources there are and the lack of predators. No matter where you place or start your fire, a screen will pop up with some information. And I'm just warning you right now, pay attention to the information on all the screens in this game. On this screen, you'll see that the chances of success and time it takes to start a fire is dependent on the combination of fire starting materials. Like even the type of matches impact your chances of success. Since stick matches yield a slightly better success rate, I almost always use the book of matches to light a torch and then reserve the stick matches to start fires. I also never use a log to start a fire. It takes too long and it's a terrible decision if you're starting a fire in the middle of a blizzard. Tinder and fuel sources are very easy to find in any region. Given this, ignition sources need to be a priority. Matches or a magnifying glass are essential, while a flare will help you in a time of need, but the flares really should be reserved for other priorities. Once you get a fire going, start pulling torches. They will be key for wolf defense, but they are the real heroes when it comes to fire ignition. You are not always successful at starting fires, so if you use matches every single time, you'll blow right through them. Instead, light a torch to start a fire. This way, you use a single match for multiple attempts. Torches shave off 10 minutes of the fire's life, so make sure you add a lot of fuel when you plan to pull torches. When you pull torches, you'll have anywhere between 20% to 50% of life, but if you craft them, the life will be 100%. When you are placing a fire, look for this symbol. This is the windshield symbol, indicating that the wind will not blow out your fire, and it will save you if you need to start a fire in a blizzard. Once you realize this, a blizzard is no longer a disorienting death sentence. This is just me, but this is one of the only times I use accelerants to start fires. The winds change in blizzards, so you may start out in an area that is protective of the wind, but if you see the life of your fire dwindling down faster than you remember, the winds have probably shifted and you need to find another spot to place a fire. Now, to be clear, you don't always have to place a fire. Sometimes you'll see these barrels with grates. You can start fires here, and a perk to using these is that they do not blow out, no matter how windy it is outside. Now that starting fires is covered, let's shift to one of the benefits of fire: warmth. First, not all fuel sources are the same. Sticks generate the lowest heat output while coal has the highest. Coal is truly king. To heal the hypothermia risk, you want your feels like temperature to get above 0. If it's below 0 outside, you'll need a serious fire. That may mean you put a few hours worth of sticks or ideally coal on the fire. It just depends on what you have and how cold it is. I carry coal specifically for blizzards since it burns hotter and longer, which is exactly what you need during storms that drag on for hours. You can also maintain your warmth by drinking hot drinks or food. This will give you a warming buff that maxes out at about 1 hour. If you consume multiple hot drinks or hot food, the warming buff will be maxed out, but your core temperature will increase. This means that when the warming buff wears out, your core temperature is higher from drinking the multiple drinks or the food. So it takes longer for the hypothermia affliction to affect you. An added bonus is if you drink something that's medicinal and you do not have the affliction that the plant cures, the core temperature will warm around 20% more. So stay healthy out there so you may keep warmer. When you first start out, every area will seem kind of cold, and it's because you have the bare minimum clothing. As you explore, you will find warmer and warmer clothing. To get the facts about your clothes, check out this tab. Play around with the layering of the clothes. You'll eventually find the right combination. And here's a pro tip. If you are looking at your clothes in this tab, the clothes you're currently wearing are identified with the blue triangle in the corner. Again, something that just kind of blew my mind. Also, keep in mind that the ratings of the clothes will increase as you repair your items. So something may look like it isn't any better than what you currently have on, but if it is degraded more than what you currently have on, it'll probably be much warmer when you repair it. As another quick tip, you can repair items with sewing kits or fishing line. Once you have your ensemble selected, toggle over to this tab to make sure that what you are wearing is suitable for the elements. Again, the feels like temperature will change with the layering combination, and the closer you are to 0 or above, the less susceptible you are to the hypothermia risk. These are, of course, all items that you can find while you're looting when you first start out, but eventually you want to upgrade to clothing made from the flesh of our fellow Earthlings, as these are the real winners. And that brings me to my next point: prioritizing resources and tools. Within the first 24 hours of spawning, you should be boiling water, if you haven't found a ton of pop, that is. To boil water, you need a recycled can, a skillet, or a cooking pot. You may find a cooking pot or a skillet quickly, but more than likely you will be boiling water with the recycled can. In order to harvest a recycled can, you need a hatchet, a knife, or a can opener. Otherwise, just imagine that Will is angrily smashing those cans, and a consequence of that is no recycled can for you. You can live without a knife and a can opener for a little bit, but you probably need a hatchet ASAP. The hatchet will allow you to harvest carcasses, birch, maple, and is the best defense against wolves mauling you whenever that happens. The hacksaw is also important because it is the only tool that can break down metal to get scrap metal. You'll want to use scrap metal to make arrowheads, but you can also use scrap metal to make improvised hatchets if you're having a hard time finding one. To make any of those, you need a forge, and that brings me to the next tool to prioritize, a heavy hammer. Forges can be found in the Broken Railroad, Forlorn Muskeg, Desolation Point, and the Forsaken Airfield. And the heavy hammer can be found in several locations, but just know that they're not always right near the forge, or even in the same region where the forge is. So while you are exploring, keep an eye out for it, but keep in mind it's heavy and it will encumber you. Next, you should start curing birch, maple, and hides as soon as possible. These items must be placed somewhere inside to begin curing, so a building or a cave, for example. The curing process is not expedited by fire, and the time it takes to be fully cured is dependent on the resource. The birch can be crafted into arrows, and the maple, your bow. The hides will make those warmer clothes I mentioned earlier, and you will need to continue to cure them even after you craft your clothes because you need cure hides and guts to repair them. It takes a few days for these items to cure, so plan accordingly. It's not uncommon for me to cure a batch of birch and maple in one region, then leave to forge some arrowheads in another, and then by the time I get back, my batch of birch and maple have been cured, so I can start crafting my archery stuff. I really haven't mentioned hunting yet, because if you're playing Voyager or Stalker, you'll come across plenty of good old processed food from the Quiet Apocalypse, but you may find yourself harvesting an already dead deer or throwing some stones at a rabbit. The most important thing to know is that the fresh hides and guts will attract wolves and mountain lions and bears. The more smell waves you see here, the further away they can smell you. You can also get this information by hitting the tab button. There, you can also tell what time it is. Since it takes the hides a few days to cure, adds weight to your load, and attracts unsavory wildlife, I'd place them in a cave or a building nearby where you harvested them and just allow them to cure there. Come back for them later when they've had time to cure, as cure hides and guts don't attract wildlife. And now this is a good time to talk about aggressive wildlife, mainly the wolves, since they are the most common and thus the greatest threat in the game. In addition to the fresh hides and guts, meat will give off a smell. But regardless, if you have a common wolf on your tail, you have some options. First, I want to say that aiming anything at them will cause them to charge at you. What you do next will determine whether you get mauled or not. The most common way to deal with them is to light a torch, then drop it to your feet, and with the lit torch right in front of you, equip a stone and then aim at them. They will charge you, but the torch will stop them, and then they'll just growl at you. If you aim again, they will run for a few seconds before they turn around and are on your tail again. Starting a fire and doing the same thing with a stone will yield similar results. In some cases, it's too windy to light a torch. That's all right. You could do the same thing with a lit flare.
Who? Oh, hi. Don't roll down the hill.
If you do not have a torch or a flare, but you have a revolver, then use that. The revolver is the only projectile type weapon that does not need to be aimed in order to shoot it off. As soon as the shot goes off, they run away and they stay away longer from this rather than the torch, flare, or the fire trick I just showed you. For the other weapons, you have to aim in order to shoot them. So you better be a good shot. I'm just kidding. Here's a beginner pro tip. Prop yourself up on a rock or a log if you have one nearby, and then shoot from that location. They can't reach you there, so while they may charge you, they can't maul you. Once you shoot, even if you miss, they'll run away. You can evade them in other ways too. If they haven't detected you, you can try throwing a rock in the opposite direction or the opposite way in which you want to go. The wolf will investigate wherever the rock lands, and that gives you some time to sneak away without being detected. Mind you, it is sort of tricky because you can only throw so far, and a lot of times your throw range is like within their detection range. You can also drop a decoy, and if you maintain your distance after dropping it, then the wolf will consume the decoy and forget all about you. Now, the timber wolves are a little different because while they do scare, they stay on you until their morale is broken. Using a flare or a torch, again, is the best way to keep them from nipping at you as long as you can identify the one wolf that is pursuing you at the moment. There will always be only one wolf pursuing you to attack. The flare or torch trick, however, will not break their morale. You can break their morale by shooting or throwing things at them. Once it is broken by about 50%, that particular pack will stay away from you, or they'll be afraid of you. Now, the Long Dark Wiki says that they will stay afraid of you for about 1 hour in game or longer, so it's variable. I know I have depleted the morale of the timber wolves that guard the cannery in the Bleak Inlet, a place where they're pretty much guaranteed to exist. And the wolves stay afraid of me long enough for me to spend a whole day getting the woodworking tools and then leaving the trailer the next morning. So it's variable, just keep that in mind. If you are indoors, whether it is a building or a car, eventually the wolves will give up on you. This can take a while though, so I suggest sleeping or passing time, whether you're passing time with the cards or, you're sewing or something like that. And by the way, did you know you can sleep in cars? This is a great thing to keep in mind if you do not have a bedroll on you, because mark my words, you will probably forget it somewhere, or if you need a rest while being pursued by the timber wolves, as I said. If you use cars to sleep during the night, just keep in mind that the cars aren't really all that warm, so you will need to place a fire outside to keep you warm throughout the night. If you do not see a nearby indoor space to run to while the timber wolves are pursuing you, try propping yourself up on a rock, a fallen log, or some other environmental artifact in the game. Much like the common wolves, they won't be able to reach you from like a higher vantage point, so you can practice your shot this way. And this way you will also be breaking their morale. Keep in mind there are more advanced videos out there on how to deal with the wolves, specifically the timber wolves. So if you are looking for something that's more in depth, there are videos out there. And I linked one that helped me out a bit down below in the description box. Really, the intent of this video is just to give you some tips on dealing with your first few encounters and, not dying. We don't talk about moose enough, and trust me, you do not want to get trampled by them. Their associated afflictions take forever to heal, and that really slows down your progress. These markings are signs that a moose may be in the area, but they're not always around when you are there. They do give you a bit of a warning, so you will know when to back off. If you see a moose and you do not want to kill one for food, just throw a rock at them and they will run away. If you do want to kill them for food, just know that in addition to the mountain lion, they are the only two animals that do not bleed out. They have a total health bar that you have to deplete. Much like the rock or the fallen log trick that I've told you about with the wolves, you can prop yourself up and practice your shots this way until the moose is dead. While there is still a lot to cover with this game, and the game itself has an enjoyable learning curve, this is really meant to be a beginner's guide. These tips and tricks should help you stay alive long enough to get the hang of it. So, stay inside and away from the live wires during the auroras. Check out the weird things that wash up on shore while beachcombing. And if you stay alive long enough for the Mountain Lions cutscene, congrats, you're doing great. And the novelty of this game is that there is always something new to learn or discover. Like, seriously, what is this? I recently discovered this and I'm at a complete loss here. What is that? Anyway, my name is Heather, and thank you so much for letting me put my game on for you. Like and subscribe if you want to hear more from me, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.